Hey guys, today I'm going to be explaining the story behind Coheed and Cambria's Second Stage Turbine Blade. You can get this, I'll have the link in the description of where you can buy this. This is the compilation of the Ultimate Edition of Second Stage Turbine Blade. Has all the comics in it, and it also has two Second Stage Turbine Blade original comics that I think Claudio had come out in 2004. So, in the beginning of Second Stage Turbine Blade, it takes place 20 years after Year of the Black Rainbow. So, Josephine is now 20 years old. And Coheed and Cambria, as far as they know, all they know is that they are just a normal couple living a normal life. They have 4 kids. First one is Josephine, she's the oldest, and then they have Claudio, and then they have twins, which is Matthew and Maria. One day, Mayo Deftonwolf comes up to Coheed after work, and he tells him that his kids contain this monster virus that has mutated from the original form when it was just in him and Cambria, and has mutated to a really lethal form that can bring about the apocalypse. So the only way for him to stop the apocalypse is if he kills his 4 kids. So then he comes home to Cambria, and she kind of has this telepathic thing going on with Coheed. She kind of can read his mind, and she comes to the conclusion that she's come across a few old memories that she didn't know she had, and she thinks that Mayo is telling the truth and that they have to kill their kids. So they decide that they are going to kill their kids to save humanity, and then afterwards they're going to kill themselves. So they start off with the 2 younger ones, the 2 twins. Coheed poisons them with the poison that he got from Mayo Deftonwolf, and the kids die actually pretty violently, and so he's like, what the fuck? This wasn't supposed to make them die in pain, so he decides that he's not going to use the poison for the next 2 kids. So meanwhile, Josephine is out with her new fiance, Patrick, and they park in some kind of shanty part of town in Jersey City, and they actually come across the Jersey City Devils, which they break into their car, they drag the couple out, they beat them, and they rape Josephine. Jersey City gang leaves, and Patrick takes Josephine home, and he waits outside while Josephine goes in to tell her parents what happened. Well, she walks in, and Cambria is comforting her, and then Coheed comes up behind her with a hammer and smashes her head in. And then Patrick comes in at this point, sees that her parents have murdered her, and he decides to run away after that. After Coheed and Cambria have killed 3 of their 4 children, Mayo Deftonwolf comes to them, and he takes Coheed and Cambria captive after this. And at this point, Coheed and Cambria realize that what Mayo Deftonwolf had told them was actually a lie, and that they killed their children for nothing. Meanwhile, while Coheed and Cambria have been taken captive, Claudio is at this point out with his girlfriend, Nuo. He finally gets home, his parents have been taken captive, and all he sees is his 3 siblings dead on the floor, and it's just a huge massacre in his house. He is then attacked by an Ostentine priest. The Ostentine priests, they are monsters that Ryan has made from the other mages. So there were 12 mages that used to rule over Heaven's Fence. He then captured them all and defeated them, and then he engineered them to become these monster type things and just do his bidding for him. Claudio gets attacked by one of these priests. At this point, he kind of finds out that he has certain powers. So he finds out that he can go invisible, and he can also walk through solid objects while he's invisible as well. So Coheed and Cambria have been taken captive by Mayo Deftonwolf and Willem Ryan's other main captain, General Crom, and they are on their way to Paris, Earth. Introduced into the story, Maria is Inferno's girlfriend, so together they lead the rebellion against Ryan. So while they're rallying their troops, trying to get the rebellion to take over Ryan, Inferno hears about what has happened to Coheed and Cambria, and he leaves Mariah to go and try and help them. So after Claudio has been chased off by the Ostentine priests, he then goes to leave Nuo a letter saying that he's leaving, and then he goes and climbs aboard a garbage ship to get off planet to get away from the Ostentine priests. So at this point we find out that Ryan is planning the apocalypse on Paris, Earth, with what he calls the flies. These are dragonflies that have been genetically engineered with a stinger on the end to inject a poisonous venom that Ryan has had his researchers engineer. Now, this research had started back with Dr. Hohenberger, back from the story in Year of the Black Rainbow. So now Ryan's had 20 years to kind of perfect it, and so he's planning to release these dragonflies and to start the apocalypse on Earth. Meanwhile, Claudio arrives on Shiloh's 10, which is where the garbage truck that he stowed away in ended up, and he finds out that in Shiloh's 10, Ryan is feeding all these undocumented workers and unwanted alien species into the keywork to fuel the keywork to add power to it. Meanwhile, we go to Ambelina on Star 4 with the prize. And so they decide that Ambelina is going to become Claudio's protector. Claudio is the last remaining hope for the keywork. There's this prophecy that Ryan is really afraid of. It's kind of like Harry Potter. There's only one person called the Crowing who can defeat Ryan. If Ryan defeats Claudio, there will be no one standing in his way to take over Heaven's Fence. So they decide that Ambelina is going to become Claudio's protector. So in order for Ambelina to follow Claudio around, she needs to sacrifice some of her powers and become a little bit more mortal in order to watch over him. So she ends up burning her wings, and that takes away some of her powers as a prize. So then we flash to Nuo, Claudio's girlfriend. She gets the note from Claudio, and then she gets attacked by an Ostentine priest. And then Ambelina shows up to save her and to try and figure out where Claudio is. Meanwhile, Mariah, she's made it to Paris Earth, and she decides to try and take out Mayo Deftinwolf. But as she's doing this, Mayo releases the flies, and they start to take over. So then Deftinwolf kills Mariah and brings her head to Ryan. So the flies have been released. Coheed and Cambria are still being held captive by Mayo Deftinwolf and Ryan's Red Army. The flies then sting Coheed and Cambria, and Ryan has designed this virus to react with a monster virus that is already inside Coheed and Cambria to turn them into his own personal weapons. Coheed changes first. He transforms into this giant monster type thing, and he doesn't feel anything except for pure rage, and he only has one task, and that is to destroy the keywork. Cambria mutates next. She turns into what is called the White Ruiner, and her only job is to murder Coheed once he is done with his work. Ryan has created this monster that really can't be stopped by anyone, not even him, so he creates Cambria to kill him once he's done destroying the keywork. Coheed flies off planet, goes to the keywork, and starts to destroy one of the stars that is holding the keywork together. So while Coheed is destroying this star, there's all kind of earthquakes that are going on all the planets. The planets are starting to break up and run into each other, and the keywork is slowly starting to power down. And if the keywork powers down, then all life on all the planets will basically be destroyed. After Coheed has destroyed this one star, Cambria stabs him and kills him, and as he dies, he kind of comes back to himself and realizes what he's done. And then after Cambria's job is done, she then starts to come back to herself as well. She realizes that her and Coheed have basically just been a pawn in Ryan's scheme, and she realizes what they've done, and she kills herself. So the keywork is falling apart, planets are starting to die, so the prize decide that them as an entire race, they are going to band together, and they all sacrifice themselves to save the keywork. So as they die, they release a huge amount of energy, and this helps them to bring the keywork back together. So they connect the energy points between the lost star, and the planets come back together. So they have effectively saved the keywork, but they have basically all killed themselves, so there's hardly any prize left. During this whole thing, Inferno's going back and forth between trying to save Coheed and Cambria and trying to save Mariah, and he effectively is able to do neither. So then we flash forward 6 years, and Inferno is trying to rebuild the rebellion, and Claudio is still hidden away on Shiloh's 10, the planet that he landed on when he stowed away in the garbage truck. And he's just starting to realize some of his powers. He's only really played with a few of them, so that's where Second Stage Turbine Blade ends. Next week I'll be doing In Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth 3. So I know I left a lot of stuff out. It's a really long, complicated story, so for simplicity's sake, I did leave out a lot of stuff. If you really want to know the full story, just get the comics. In other news, Megadeth has announced that they're releasing a 350-page graphic novel to go along with their 35th anniversary Greatest Hits album called Warheads on Foreheads. So I think it's going to be a continuous story that's going to following Vic Rattlehead. So I will probably get that, and I'll read it and let you guys know what I think of it. If you want to get it, I think it's kind of pricey. I think it's like $60 or $70. But I think it's like a limited edition thing. I don't think they're gonna continue to sell them after they've released the album. Anyway, thanks for watching.